All right, let's bake some bread today. If this looks good, make sure to like and subscribe, and we have plenty more videos where this came from. So let's get into how we do this here. First thing we do is we take some coconut milk or oat milk or regular milk, whatever. I'm using 2/3 of a cup and sprinkling in a sprinkle of cane sugar. Then you heat that up to about 105 to 115 degrees. Put your yeast in there. The recipe will be written out in the description and the comment. And once we've got our 2 teaspoons of yeast in there, we just gently stir it. You don't want to smash it or hit it way too hard and hurt the yeast. You just want it to get mixed around so it activates. And then the fermentation process takes about 15 minutes, give or take. And so while that's fermenting, we want to be making the rest of our dough. I'm making the most basic, easy to follow way where we just put 2 eggs in. And, this is, again, designed to be very, very simple. And I do like to put some cane sugar in there. You don't have to, but I like to put some sugar, salt, and a little bit of honey in there as well. I think that just makes it a nice bread that works for a lot of things and it counteracts some of that yeastiness. Then we just mix our yeast in there and we just gingerly get this thing swirled around. So those eggs have to be broken up and you just gently mix it. Again, we don't want to just pound that yeast, but we want to make sure that it is good and mixed up. And we break our eggs up because if this liquid part is nice and combined and even, our bread tends to be that way as well. Once that's really well combined, then we start adding our flour in batches. So if you're reading the recipe right now, you notice that there's not really an exact measurement on there, is because this really just kind of depends. Eggs are different sizes, humidity is different in different places, your flour has absorbed different amounts of water. It's kind of a do it until it's right type of thing, rather than it's an always 3 or a 4 cup deal. So you just add it in batches. Some people want to sift it. That's cool. I'm trying to make the most basic version here that you can easily follow along and say, hey, am I doing it right? That's going on. So if it does feel like you can follow along and that this is doable, make sure to let me know in the comments. And if there's anything you want, suggestions or improvements you'd like made, please let me know as well. So we just add in a little bit more flour in here. And the flour here, again, we're trying to get it so it's about as mixed as we can get with the spatula. And again, I always like to do as much as I can with that because that does take the heavy lifting out. But there comes a point where it's just not really being effective anymore. And that's where you got to swap over to using your hands. And so, I just grab the flour straight out of the bag and just coat the top of it. And we want to make sure that we get this nice and mixed in evenly. One thing that you want to be conscious of is the more that you knead and mix, the more gluten you develop and the tougher your bread. The less you knead and mix, the less gluten you develop and the lighter and fluffier your bread is. And obviously, you got to mix it. But you can't really overdo it. If it gets stuck to your hands like this, the trick is just to add a little bit of flour and rub them together like this, interlock your fingers and your palms and kind of alternate back and forth. That'll get any of the sticky stuff that was still on your hands. And then we just add a little bit more flour. Again, this is kind of the do it until it's right point here. And we can knead it. If you want to get it out of a bowl and put it directly on the counter, great. If you've got another method, wonderful. But I just like to knead it in the bowl just for the sake of cleaning up. And so, really grabbing it, and we're also using the ball of your hand to really push it down. So if it's still a little bit wet and sticky, it shouldn't just outright stick to you. Go ahead and add a little bit more flour like I did here. And the reason this is all here is so you can see the process of the buildup of, it's getting less and less and less wrong until it's about right. And we're doing that nice kneading technique where we grab with our fingers and we push with the palm and right where it connects to your arm, so you got some good leverage. And then I always like to kind of tuck in the edges, make a nice ball or a nice shape of whatever pan it's going in, and then put that thing on some parchment paper. And I like to trim off the edges because they just end up getting brown. Then we bake it on 350 for 35 to 40 minutes, depending on how good your oven is and how you made your bread. And we take it out. If it looks like that delicious golden brown and straight out of the oven and cooked all the way through, then you sure did it right. So then we're going to go ahead and slice us some up here and take a look at what we made. So that bread right there, it's got a nice, even, crumbly texture. And it's got all those holes for soaking up butter and jelly and whatever else you want to put on it. So if you like that, like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.